Alright guys, so we're almost there. What we're going to do in this video is probably the most complicated thing that we're going to have to do in this project, and that is we want to be able to enter information here, submit, validate it, make sure that they actually entered something, and then we want to sanitize the information that they enter and then insert it into the database and then redirect us back, and if needed show us the error. If not, then the error just won't show. Alright, so that's the functionality we're going to be adding, and we're going to do that in the process file. Okay, so if we go back, if you remember, our form is submitting to process.php. Alright, so it's going to submit using post variables. Okay, so post is a super global array. You probably know this. But whatever you submit in the form shows up in this array, which you can access values like this. Alright, so when you submit this form and we have an input here with the name user, alright, the name attribute's very important because that's what you use to grab it from the script that you submit to. Okay, so this, whatever we put in this input, is going to be accessible through this array value. Alright, so the first thing we want to do here is include our database. I don't know why that keeps happening. We want to include our database file, or we won't be able to do any kind of interaction. Alright, so next we're going to check if the form was submitted, and we can do that. We can say if post submit actually we want to check if it's set, so we're going to use the isSet function, wrap that around the post. Okay, so if post submit, because down here our input for our button has the name submit, so if you push that button, then this is going to be true. Alright, so if it is pushed, we want to grab our post variables. Alright, so like I said, the user input is gonna, we can access that like this, but we don't want to use this in our query. Alright, we want to sanitize it, so we're going to create a variable called user, and we're going to set it to that, but we're going to wrap it in an escape function. Okay, so MySQL real escape string. Alright, we want to wrap it in that, and that's going to strip any harmful content that's submitted, HTML tags or whatever, things that could be harmful to our script. This will take care of. Alright, you also got to pass in the connection for the first parameter. Okay, and this connection again is coming from the database.php file. Alright, so we want to do the same thing for the message. And there is a lot of debates on what is suitable for security. Some people say that you shouldn't use this because sometimes you may want HTML inserted. There's just different methods that people use in some places and not others, and it really depends on the context. But I mean, this is just a basic video, basic script, so I'm not going to really get into high security rules or anything like that, at least in this video. So next we want to be able to get the time. Alright, we want the current time, and obviously the user doesn't submit that. We need to get that. So the first thing I'm going to do is set my time zone. Alright, now if you wanted to add more functionality to the script, you could have the user select their time zone and use that, but this is just really basic, so I'm just going to set it to my time zone. Okay, and you can do that with the function date default time zone set. Okay, and I'm just going to set it to my time zone of America / New York. Alright, and then we're going to create a variable called time, which will get our formatted time using the date function. Oh. Okay, so the date, the first parameter is formatting, so I'm going to use HISA. Alright, so that's just standard formatting. If you go to php.org, php.net, you can see all the different formatting styles for date and time. And then the second parameter is just going to be the time function. Alright, so that should give us the current time. Alright, so next we want to validate. Alright, so say if whoop, don't want that. So we're going to check if we're going to use the isSet function, but we're going to use the exclamation point. So we're basically saying if it's not set. Okay, so if user is not set, or the double pipes represents or user is equal to nothing, or is set, or if not set, message, or message is equal to nothing. Alright, so we have it all in one conditional. You could break these up and do if user and then do message in a different statement, so you could so you could have specific error messages saying you need to fill out user or you need to fill out message, but we're just doing it all in one shot. Alright, so if any of that is true, then let's just run a test and say echo bad. Alright, else echo good. Alright, so let's reload this, and if we submit nothing, we get bad. If we submit 1, we get bad. If we submit both, we get good. Alright, so that's all working. Alright. So let's do the good first. Alright, so if they fill it out, we're going to create the query. Alright, so the query is going to be an insert query. So insert into shouts, and if you know MySQL, this should be no issue here. This is pretty easy. Alright, so insert into shouts, we want the user, the message, and the time. These are the fields we want to submit to. Alright, and then we're going to say values. Okay, so this is what we want to insert into these fields. The first one is going to be user, message, and time. Okay, so these values should match up with the order of these column names. Alright, so that's the query. Okay, so next we want to say if we want to make sure that it actually worked. Okay, so if not MySQLi query, and we want to pass in the connection and the query, just like we did with the select statement. Alright, so basically we're saying if it didn't insert, what do we want to happen? We're just going to have it die and give us an error message. Okay, we're going to use MySQL error, and we need to pass in the connection there as well. Okay, so if it doesn't insert, it'll give us the error. If it does, what do we want to happen? We want to be redirected back to our index. Alright, so the header method redirects us to a set location. Okay, and the location we want to be sent to is index.php. Alright, so we have that part done. Now we want something to happen when if they don't fill out the form correctly. Alright, so what I want is just to redirect them back to the index, but to show them an error. Alright, so let's do the error message. I'm going to put that into a variable. Okay, and I'm just going to say, please fill in your name and a message. Alright, and then we want to redirect header location, and we're going to go to index.php, but I want to bring this error with me, alright, so we can display it. So I'm going to use in the URL, I'm going to use a get variable. I'm going to say error equals error. Alright, but I want to use the URL encode method here to make this URL friendly. So URL encode, and just wrap that around the error. Alright, and then we'll do exit. Alright, so hopefully this works. Let's go ahead and reload, and let's try to send nothing. Oh, alright, so we forgot to put in our error into our template. Alright, so right under the input div, we want to say PHP if Alright, so we're going to test and see if the error get variable is there. So if is set get error, then we're going to display a div class error. This is just to make it look good. Alright, and we're going to echo that get variable. Alright, so let's try it again. We have nothing, we submit nothing. You can see that alright, let's just add some style to that so we can actually see it. Dot error. We'll give it a red background, and the letters will be white. Padding and margin bottom. Alright, so now we have an error if we don't fill out the fields. Alright, so let's give this a shot. Let's say Brad, this is a new message. Okay. Oh, I have a comma there in the index PHP. Right here, we need the period. Sorry about that. Okay, let's try that again. Alright, and there's my messages. The first one, it did go through, it just didn't redirect because I had that comma, so that's why there's 2 here. We can test it again. Okay, so there's John. Now, the last thing I want to do here is the order. I don't want it to show up at the bottom. I want the most recent post to be at the top, and that's really easy. We just need to edit our select query. Okay, so select from shout, and I'm going to say order by ID. And the reason I'm choosing ID is because it's auto increment, so the latest posts are going to have the highest ID. Okay, I just want to add in the descending keyword as well. Alright, so now if we reload this, you can see that John is now at the top. So that's it for our first project. You could go on and make this even better. You could have some kind of validation for users, registration or login. You could also add some JavaScript and Ajax so that the page doesn't even have to refresh when you enter something. It can just kind of fade in. But that's kind of beyond the scope of this video. Alright, so thanks. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next project.